The scheme administrator, CSL, is funded by business.
Correct.
There is no longer a scheme to administer. So business presumably can't continue to support CSL. So will the Scottish Government be funding CSL going forward? And if not, what happens to CSL?
CSL is a private not-for-profit company which is industry-led and designed to be funded by industry, so it would not be appropriate for the Scottish Government to fund the company. However, as we intend to go forward with the scheme in 2025, and as the UK Government have said they intend to go forward with the scheme in 2025, they will also need a scheme administrator. They will also need to develop the expertise that we already have. So it is now a question for the producers of the UK at large to decide whether the smoothest path for an implementation of a UK-wide DRS is for them to keep CSL in continuity, which I would encourage them to do, to keep that in continuity, to bring that expertise to the delivery of a UK-wide scheme. And that is with the producers who fund CSL currently to decide.
So until that happens, who is going to fund CSL?
CSL have the funding that they have been funded, so they need to work with their members and producers to decide on the future of that company.
What is the nature of the £9 million start-up funding for CSL from the Scottish National Investment Bank, and what happens to that investment going forward?
Arrangements between the Scottish National Investment Bank and CSL are a private matter between those two organisations. I'm not involved in that.
But just for the avoidance of doubt, you don't know the nature of the investment that the SNIB made to CSL?
In terms of the contractual arrangements around that, I do not have that information.
Oh dear. Convener.
Sorry, I'm a bit confused. CSL have day-to-day living costs for keeping going, and industry knows that there's no scheme coming down the road till 2025. They pay quite a lot of money, or some parts of industry have had to keep CSL going. You think they're just going to continue to fund them on the chance that they'll be needed in 2025? Quite speculative, is it? Or are you happy that's a reasonable business investment?
I'm interested in the convener's use of the word on the chance that it might be needed in 2025. The UK has committed to launching a scheme in 2025, and we very much support them in that ambition, their stated ambition. And in order to launch most successfully, the smoothest path to a successful UK launch is to keep that expertise that CSL have created and to keep that going forward. So it is for industry to decide whether the smoothest path for them is to keep CSL going until that 2025 launch, or whether they wish to take another route.
I don't think I was saying that on the chance that the scheme would go forward in 2025. I was saying on the chance that CSL might be needed in 2025. You know, it's a punt from a business point of view to continue to fund that level of salaries and costs on the basis that that organisation may be part of the new scheme that comes out.
All the schemes in the UK will require scheme administrators, scheme administrator organisations, and the UK will be asking industry to put together what they refer to as a DMO. We call it a scheme administrator here. They have said that their timeline for that is next year, 2024. So the UK would be looking at putting in place their DMO in 2024. Now, one can imagine a scenario where the expertise within CSL and the producer investment in that is that they work together to apply to be that DMO for the whole UK. So that is one route forward, but this is for industry to decide how they might want to take that forward.
Okay, two questions coming on the back of it. Liam Kerr and then Bob Doris.
Just for the avoidance of doubt, if industry decides not to fund in that interim period, then from your answer earlier, Minister, your position is CSL has enough funds to keep going during that interim period. Is that correct?
That is not my position. That's not what I've said. I've said CSL has its existing funding, but to go forward, it needs to work out what path it's going to take. Now, there are various paths available, but that's for them to work out with their producers who are their source of funding.
And if their source of funding decides not to fund them because there is no scheme to administer in the immediate future, how will CSL keep going? How will it fund itself, Minister?
Well, the industry will need to decide how they are to comply with regulations. So we will be bringing an amendment to our regulations saying that the scheme will go live in October 2025 in line with the UK scheme. Industry has to decide how to comply with those regulations. What they have done to do that is created CSL. So they now need to decide, will they keep CSL going in order to comply, or will they take a different route, for example, creating a different body? That's for industry to decide. We, as Parliament, lay the regulations, and industry have to comply to those. The DMOs and scheme administrators are the tool by which industry comply with our regulations.
What he wants